On behalf of everyone at the Chamber, I am both excited and thankful you chose to spend the afternoon with us. There's been $3 billion in construction added to the city of Grand Rapids in the last few years. With growth in both job opportunities and economic impact throughout our community, the Grand Rapids Chamber exists to help make the most of it. West Michigan Minority Contractors aims to provide workshops, networking opportunities, and other resources to help minority-owned contractor businesses thrive. Through West Michigan Minority Contractors, you can develop business relationships, promote your products and services, and help strengthen the contractor community in West Michigan. Today, we're excited to have you with us virtually. It is through events like this that we can all connect, and specifically with our contractors, and work to build equitable economic growth in our region. Before I introduce today's panelists, I would like to give many thanks to our event underwriter, Warner Norcross and Judd, who makes West Michigan Minority Contractors programming possible. Here to share remarks on behalf of Warner is Lexi Woods. Lexi?
Thank you, Dante. My name is Lexi Woods, and I'm thrilled to be representing Warner today. Our firm is proud to sponsor the Chamber's West Michigan Minority Contractors Program as we prioritize investing in initiatives dedicated to advancing a thriving and prosperous West Michigan for all. Warner takes a multidisciplinary approach to construction and real estate law. We regularly work with contractors, construction managers, architects, engineers, developers, owners, and others. And as an attorney within the construction group, I'm proud to support such an impressive industry. As Dante mentioned, the construction industry has contributed more than $3 billion in value to our community within the last 20 years. I really appreciate the opportunity to join you as you invest in yourselves and your businesses by attending today's event. I hope you will all walk away feeling more empowered and prepared to get the bid. Thank you, and know that Warner is here for you as you navigate your way through your projects. Back to you, Dante.
Thank you, Lexi, and thank you to Warner, Norcross, and Judd again. The first step to having a successful business is mastering your craft. After that, it's all in the art of the pitch. Today, leaders from thriving minority-owned businesses will share their journeys and best bidding practices. Let's learn a little bit more about them. Ruben Ramos, managing partner at R&R Mechanical Services, is a 12-year veteran of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, also known as HVAC, industry, and has guided his business to continued and sustainable growth since it opened in 2008. The startup company has evolved from a two-man operation serving residential customers to a team of more than 20 employees serving both residential and commercial clienteles. Ruben attributes a large part of R&R Mechanical's success to the good synergy he has created with his business partner and twin brother, Rolando Ramos. Thank you, Ruben, for being with us today. Jodi Van Haren is the owner and CEO of Advantage Mechanical-Refrigeration, also known as AMR, an established commercial and industrial high-touch mechanical contractor. For the last 20 years, Jodi has built AMR from a startup company out of her house to one that employs 27 talented people and serves numerous customers across Michigan. Jodi is on various industry boards and is a member of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians. Thank you, Jodi, for being with us. Troy Yarborough is CEO of Preferred Construction Group, which he founded in 2011 with the vision of providing unique construction and remodeling services for the medical and education sectors. Under Troy's leadership and 30 years of expertise, Preferred Construction Group team is focused on reducing intrusive and disruptive renovations in occupied spaces to make a positive impact on the community. Thank you for being with us here today. On behalf of the Chamber, I want to thank each for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. Your expertise is of great value, and we are excited to share it with our attendees. To begin, I'd love for each of you to share a brief overview of your business. More specifically, what do you do and why do you do it? Jodi, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Dante. As you said, I'm Advantage Mechanical-Refrigeration. We are locally here in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. We service customers throughout Michigan with our federal contracts, takes us outside of Michigan at times. So as a mechanical contractor, like you mentioned, HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, refrigeration, plumbing, we have both a service side to our business, and that's troubleshooting service calls, maintaining equipment. And then we have the construction side where we'll bid on projects that are either renovations or new construction. We employ, like you said, about 27 people. We're about 2/3 construction and about 1/3 service. Many years we were about half and half, and we've probably switched over to our construction side just with larger contracts. So with our sales as well as our employees. Something else that we do that's a little unique is we're also a federal prime contractor. So we get the opportunity to be the like a construction manager, general contractor as well for our construction projects. That has given us, I feel, an advantage when we go to bid work for GCs and CMs and perform the work as a subcontractor, because we kind of know both sides of it as what the GCs expect, as we are for, like I said, government projects. And we're only doing that at this time for government work. Yeah, just happy to be doing this, and I've been in this industry a long time. Next month will actually be our 20-year anniversary. So.
Wow, Jodi, very impressive, and again, congratulations on your trajectory in this field. And you know, a big shout out to you, one of the only SBA 8A companies here in West Michigan, and so congrats to you. Ruben, what's the story? Give us your journey and where you are today.
Certainly. Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes. So, Ruben Ramos, as you'd mentioned, I'm a partner, a managing partner here at R&R Mechanical Services. We're a full service mechanical contractor. What that means is heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and also we do refrigeration. We service clients really in the West Michigan region. We're about maybe 75-mile radius out from Grand Rapids. We serve residential and commercial clients, and we specialize in anything forced air, any equipment that moves air. We merge a little bit into the boilers as well, the hydronic systems, but low pressure boilers. Refrigeration systems, such as we work a lot in like restaurants and supermarkets. Your walk-in coolers, reach-in freezer, reach-in coolers, beer coolers and whatnot. We do a lot of restaurants. Some of the popular names that you may recognize are Tacos El Cuñado, for example. We do a lot of yeah. So we do a lot of commercial kitchen ventilation systems. Exhaust hoods and whatnot, and obviously the residential market, or typical furnace, air conditioning, mini splits. The company was started in officially, I'd say officially, because before that, my brother Rolando was kind of working out of the shed of his house, right? Beat up Astro van that you could see from side to side through all the openings in the rear wheel wells and whatnot, and
rust hole.
That's how it started. And so it kind of evolved from there. And currently there are 42 families that depend on the R&R company. And we could grow, but there's a shallow pool of talent there. And Jodi, you probably agree with me. And so, that's kind of where we're at right now. But I think we provided, we've been able to to develop good relationships with clients throughout the years, and we're holding steady.
Yeah. Ruben, one of the things I want to highlight, again, congrats on this incredible story, both of you. What a distinguished panel that we have here with these amazing entrepreneurial journeys. Ruben, last year we celebrated a big ribbon cutting at your renovated facility, state-of-the-art facility, right in the inner city, in the local neighborhoods where you and your brother kind of grew up. And what prompted you to say, you know what, we're going to invest here in our city. We're going to create our shop here. You know, it's a beautiful office. The chambers utilized it for conference rooms and meetings and stuff. And what prompted you to say, I want to invest here versus going outside the city where it could have been maybe even cheaper to do?
We're from the hood, brother. You know, we like where we are. You know, we, like you say, we've been living in this area, you know, since the very early 1990s when our family moved here to Grand Rapids. And so these are stomping grounds. We played here, we went to school in this area, we've worked in this area, and we've opened up shop in this area. All of our employees, I would say all, but I'd say, 80% of our employees are from this area, and a lot of those from the 49507 zip code. So we've been able to grow organically there. That's how we've been able to grow, because it was hard, and we can perhaps get into that a little bit later in the conversation. But one of the big hurdles we've had as we've grown is finding talent. And we went right in our backyard and started offering an opportunity, reaching out and finding, individuals that had great work ethic. They just didn't have an opportunity in life to earn a skilled trade. And it's been costly, but you know what? They've stuck around. We had very little turnover because of that. And so we said, you know what? This is us. This is where we belong. This is where we're comfortable. Yeah. And most of our clients, residentially speaking, our residential clients were from this area. So it just made sense for a lot of reasons to stay here.
That's great. Well, again, kudos to you and the R&R mechanical team and for investing in our city. So the topic today is really bidding, right? How do we get bids? How can we be successful? I'd like for each of you to share, what was bidding like when you first got started? How would you go acquire a contract? And those first bids, I'm assuming were probably challenging. And tell us a little bit about that and how it evolved to where it is today, and how do you do bidding today? And Ruben, we'll let you start off, and then we'll turn it over to Jodi.
Sure thing. And for some reason, I had a little bit of where it was cut off. Would you mind starting me off on the question once more?
Absolutely. So the topic is bidding. Tell us how bidding was in your company when you first got started. How would you do the bidding, and who would do it, and so forth? And then talk how it is now.
Sure. A lot to tell. That's my daily bread. When I joined Rolando in the company, he was doing mostly service work and residential installs. Not too much bidding on the commercial new construction or remodels. And so that's kind of the edge that I took when I came on board. And I said, okay, that's how we're going to continue growing the company, is we're going to look to commercial work. But neither of us knew how to bid commercial work. And so I took it upon myself to kind of, just learn, read a lot, and then ask a lot of questions. I met, and I'll mention his name because he helped me a lot in those early days and took me under his wing, was Dick Ortega. He was a co-owner of Alternative Mechanical, who were a plumbing outfit, but he taught me a lot. And so I was able to find somebody that kind of brought me along those first days and kind of taught me, how to bid, how to take off projects and whatnot. And so it was hard. I learned by trial and error a lot. I feel like we still do. But man, those first projects. Now I'll share with you real quick. Well, the first project that I bid that we, R&R picked up with me estimating was a fit out of Victoria's Secret that you have at the Rivertown Mall. We lost our butts on that one, but it left me a well of knowledge, and so that was kind of the beginning, right? We learned as I went. Again, asking a lot of questions, kind of reading a lot.
Ruben, can you elaborate a little bit more on that Victoria's Secret job where you say you lost your butts on it? Did you underbid or not price it right? What was the challenge there?
Yeah, so I underbid it mainly on the labor, right? I figured we kind of took off based on square footage, and it was all very manual, right? So I literally had a plan on my table, and it was taking it off with a scaled ruler, and I based on square footage and some formulas that somebody passed on to me, but it was my mistake was I completely underbid us on the man hours on the job, and so we felt it, but luckily my brother didn't fire me, and we've fast forwarded today. We've been able to, a couple of years back, finally we got to the point where we needed to invest in estimating software, and it's been a lifesaver. It was an investment to make, but it also helps to eliminate a lot of those possibilities to miss things. And so that's kind of where we are now. I still do, I'd say 90% of the bidding for the company. That's kind of one of my daily activities. And I tell you what, I've learned a lot faster by, when I make mistakes than not. And that's good. It's not good to make mistakes, but I think I'd make a bigger mistake if I did not learn from them.
Absolutely. That what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, right? So, unfortunately, good learning opportunities when when you don't bid it out, right? Jodi, again, how did bidding first start in your company? Who would do it, and how hard was it? And then where are you today?
So like R&R, we started as mainly a service company. So when you're doing service, and we're commercial industrial, so everything but single family homes. So when we started, if there was a project that was, replacing a couple of rooftop units, something a little bit bigger, then a service technician could, bid that. When I remember the first time we said, all right, let's tiptoe, throw our hat into a little bit of these projects. And the very first one was for the city of Grand Rapids. It was a wastewater treatment plant project. Why we did it is a guy that we had at the time, and I hire we're a union contractor. So all of our hiring comes out of the union hall, whether if it's here, the local 174, or down in Battle Creek is the local 333, Detroit. So got access to the different guys. So a guy that we had at the time who had worked in the field had experience with wastewater work, and this job came up, and we said, well, you want to come in from working and bid on this, because we didn't have any clue. So we're going to go on your experience. We know the service world. Let's see what happens. I remember it was my mom's outdoor garden table that, I used in our basement. And that was our first blueprint table. And he sat there and took it off. And even today, bids, when they're put together, and now we've got, a system, it still is, there's not just one person that's looking at it and it's getting sent out. I'm brought in, there's a team of us. Usually one guy's taking it off. He's doing the nitty gritty work and, reading through the spec book, reading through the prints. But there's kind of a team effort because of the problems in the past, and problems that still can happen. There's a lot you can miss on a bid. So back to then, we, all kind of looked at it, decided, okay, let's do it. We got the bid, we did the work. if we did make a lot or a little, it didn't stick in my mind. That, you know, the thing that sticks in my mind is that was the first job, and that we did it on this, you know, these big burly guys on this garden frilly table in my mind. Probably a few years later, because I started in 2001, it was probably 2006. I had a guy come in looking for work, and I said, you know what do you think about, how much experience have you had bidding? A lot of the guys are ones that have been in the field, and what do you think about coming in? Because I feel safest with them. They've been out there, they've done the work, they know what it takes. Some of them, some have been in the field for many years and just are not great at estimating. So this guy came in, we signed up with the Builders Exchange right away. That's when we started investing in, being able to get blueprints, and really just invested in that and decided to really kind of dive in. All right, we're going to do construction. So from then till now, that's where we get a lot of our work. Also, just direct bid invites. Federal work, you can go to what used to be called Fed Biz Apps, but I'm in like a bid matching type of thing, so we'll get emails that will alert us to it. But fast forward to today, we've done a lot of schools. It seems like schools, there's always schools to bid on. That's how we started then, and that's a lot of what we do today that's not in the federal world. We also, like R&R, it's only been a few years ago that we finally bit the bullet, and these estimating softwares are not cheap. We used spreadsheets, and I always, when I talk to smaller contractors, we started out using, yellow legal pads, and that's how everything was done, and then it was like, okay, well then there's Excel spreadsheets where you've got the different tabs of all the, your pipe and your just your valves and your subcontractors, and it all goes to a recap sheet. And so we used that many years. And a few years ago, I went and looked and found maybe 5 different bidding, ways to software, and decided on one of them. And so just hired our second estimator. Each time you hire somebody new, there's another 10 grand for the software. There's the training, and so it's an investment, but as Ruben said, it's definitely worth it. It's paid off. However, there's a lot of things, it's not foolproof. You still have to make sure you know how to use it. And we'll talk later, I know, about some of the things we've done wrong, but yeah, so come a long ways. And we're actually now in the middle of looking for one more good tool, and that's a bid management software. So when we're asking subcontractors to bid to us the work that we don't self-perform, insulating our pipe and just the controls or electrical, then we're looking at that as another expense, but that's going to be worth it, that we can send out our addendums when RFIs come in, that they're automatically sent out to anybody. That's just a good communication tool, a good way to organize everything. So
Good.
Yeah.
So Jodi, Ruben, what I'm hearing is that, in the beginning, it was scary, and sometimes it still is, right? The risk only gets bigger as the projects get bigger, right? And what I hear is that, you took the team approach, right? And even though you start small, you ask yourself, who needs to have eyes on this? And collectively, we're gonna get to a better place, right? With our bid. And then what I also hear is that at the end of the day, yeah, it's a little scary, but the risk is worth the reward, right? Jodi, you shared how you really got into a different area. You were doing service, but you got into commercial now, and Ruben kind of like the same thing. So I think for all of our minority contractors that are listening to us, it really is about understanding that I think back then you two knew where you were going, and you know that this was a step that was going to help get you there. And then Jodi, I also heard, and from you too, Ruben, with Dip Ortega, looking for somebody that can provide some guidance, some mentoring, and so forth. I think it's important. So thank you for sharing. And the next question, and we're getting it from the audience as well. how do you find out about bid opportunities here in the West Michigan area, and not just federal and state, but local here? How do you find them, Ruben?
Sure. Um, so like Jodi mentioned, the Grand Rapids Builders Exchange is a great, is a great thing to invest in because you have to buy a membership. Actually, they have a free membership, but you can also buy the full on, and but that's a great tool because you get daily emails with, you set your filters in, your parameters, and then what type of work you're interested in, and then they'll send you a daily email with new projects or projects that perhaps you're tracking, and then you can go in there and often see who their general contractors are that are bidding it if it's a GC bid, or if there's a construction manager, then you'll find out there. You'll obviously have access to all the prints and the specifications, and then any changes, any addendums or any like that come up during the bid process. So that worked for me well some years back when, right almost when I started at R&R. About a year after that is when we first signed up to the Builders Exchange, and we've been a member since. Although, nowadays, most of our work comes directly from invitations to bid from general contractors or past clients or word-to-word referrals. But it takes time for you to get there. It's, for any contractors that are just starting out, it'll take some time for you to build that. But to start off, I think the Grand Rapids Builders Exchange is a good option. Obviously, the chamber, you guys do a great job of, communicating whenever there's an invitation to bid from any of your members that gets reported to you. Stay involved, build your networks, because that's how you're going to find out about bid opportunities.
Mhm.
And sign up with like the City Grand Rapids, sign up with the Grand Rapids Public Schools, et cetera, because they always have invitations to bid going out.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'll share with the audience, we are planning on doing a program like this with the Builders Exchange to talk about how do you sign up for the Builders Exchange and so forth. Jodi, you talked about that as well. You want to elaborate more on?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we tried another one. I think I know the name of it. I'm not trying to diss anybody, but okay, there's more than one. When you're in business, you'll have salespeople galore selling you everything, which is their job. But all right, my estimator talked me into, come on, let's sign up for this other one, which costs money, and all right, we'll try it out. And really, they did not. Builders Exchange is definitely the most local West Michigan, and there's other builders exchanges too in Michigan, but the other one did not get us any more projects than we saw. And if there were other ones on there, they just were not ones that we were interested in anyways. So what's nice about Builders Exchange is, like Ruben said, is we also get invites from specific GCs. And if we think we're just, oh, yep, we'll accept it from them. However, that same project, if you look at the Builders Exchange, it's not just that one, ABC construction general contractor asking, and you realize, oh, there's 8 more. So if I only sent my bid to them and they don't get it, then we just spent all that time and kind of put all of our eggs in that one basket. So the Builders Exchange is good because you can see everybody that you need to make sure you get your bid out to. And you put yourself as a interested bidder. And when you do that, then some of my subs will say, my material suppliers, oh, we see you're interested. We're going to send our bid to you. So that is a big, I would say it's a must. I think you're right, Ruben, that they do have a free one, but I don't think you get access to the prints or something, or there's more that you get when you pay. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Jodi, and when you talk about having 7 other contractors bidding on that same big job, is it the same bid that you send to the different contractors, or do you have to
Yeah.
tailor?
Yeah. So if an owner if we're not bidding to an owner directly, like we're not bidding right to the city of Grand Rapids. Say it's a project that has many trades to it, and we're bidding to Rockford and OAK and Triangle and, several, then that's where we want to get our bid to all of them. And yeah, we bid the same amount to everybody. So, yep.
I wanna reflect on something for the sake of everyone watching us today. So here you are leading and growing these companies that are in the trades, but at the same time, you're really wearing the bidder hat, and you're making sure that you and your team are learning about bids and being intentional and going after them. If you could give us a range, what percentage of your time do you think is spent on going after this work, and the bid process and so forth?
I spend, so I have two estimators now. One is has BIM capabilities. We offer BIM. And then I've got a construction manager. We're all seeing projects come in. So throughout the day, every single day, I'm looking at projects, and it's kind of a joint decision of what goes up on the board. So we literally have a whiteboard of the projects that we're going, and it can take a little bit of time. You have to dig into some of them, the specs and the prints, to see, is this the right job for us? How big is it? Does it need bonding? You kind of like look at all of the decisions that the risk factors. For us, we go outside of the West Michigan area. So, all right, this is downtown Detroit. We have that risk factor. It's, much larger, or, it's going to eat up our bonding. Is this where we want to use our bonding? So we make decisions based on that. But I, thankfully, like I said, I have the two guys that do it full time. I am always looking at processes. Just yesterday, I went in there and looked at that board, and I said, I think we need a calendar too. Just like we have a calendar for our service guys and our construction guys of what jobs they're going on. We've got two of you now. I can't tell who can take more on. It maybe the 5 jobs one of the estimators is bidding are all small, and he can take more on, where the other guy, he's got one that he's got to get his head buried into for days and don't disturb him. So I'm always looking I'm the process queen. I'm the one that comes in and it's going to make more work, but it's going to make everybody's life better and more organized. So that being said, that's some of my time. And as an owner, you've got to be looking. I'm not as much down and in and bidding the work, and I'm kind of looking up and out, and how can we make this better? How can, if I step away, everything is still going smoothly, and I can work on other deals and other things for the company. So that's where I'm at personally.
Ruben?
Yeah, it's hard to give you a percentage, Dante. It really, really is, because as the business owner, you have to wear so many hats, right? Right now I'm spending some time doing this, right? Before this, I was answering emails related to managing a project that we have going on, and submittals and whatnot. Just alone today, I probably spent, and actually the actual bidding a project, or 2 projects that I'm bidding on currently, probably spent 60% of my day today already. So if we were to put a number on it, we'll say about 60 to 70% of my time is spent bidding. But I'm also the only bidder we have currently for commercial construction work. I also manage the projects. Once we get them, I do the purchasing, and then general oversight or management of the business, along with my brother as well. So I wear so many hats. It's so hard to say this amount of time I carve out for estimating, but I'd say the majority of my time is spent estimating. That's kind of curious. I'm kind of curious, if I may, Dante, a quick question for Jodi. When did you decide that it was time to bring on additional estimators? Was it a sales number after you started selling so much in construction, or was it just to free yourself or others up? What was kind of the determining factor when you decided to say, all right, I need to bring in an estimator to help me out? Because kind of I've been kicking that can around a little bit myself.
Yeah, sometimes people and things just pop up into your into your path, and you weren't even thinking to do it. You realize when you see it, oh my gosh, what an opportunity, you know. And this is kind of what happened with this guy that I had known for years. He had worked for, you know, big companies that, you know, Egan and big ones that I knew that, okay, he's got some experience in this field, had his own company, his family, you know, like yours, big family into the trades. And he, during this whole COVID time, as we did get quite a few people that kind of quality guys that were laid off from other places just because things slowed down. And I was going to be putting a lot of efforts into buying a building this past year. And when COVID happened, and it was like, okay, let's put the brakes on everything. And this guy popped up. Well, how about we invest in growing more? So I knew that if we doubled, you know, and really, I got a great construction manager, project manager. I felt like it was the time, you know, as soon as it came up and I started thinking about all that. So it's obviously it's a whole nother salary to put on, benefits, you know, all of it. And I felt comfortable with being able to take that on, you know. So, and it's got to pay off, you know. So, and it has been. We've been getting many more awards because we can put out, you know, a lot more bids. And again, that team effort when you're bidding on these jobs that are now $1 million, $2 million. That's a lot to look at, a lot of little things that can, you know, you're risking. And it's something that I thought about saying earlier, Dante, is you hope you win more than you lose, as far as when, you know, your Victoria's Secret example. I mean, we've all lost money on projects. Same with bidding. I mean, you don't want to win all of them because some of them, you know, may not be the right job for you. So, but yeah, to answer your question, Ruben, that's kind of how that happened. It was just an opportunity presented itself. Many opportunities. Nope, it's not the right time. I just felt like it was the right time.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt, I think something that is key here is that you have to invest in this area of work. And the message I think to our audience today is, if you're that company that loves to be out on the field and working out in the field and with your crew and so forth, you got to understand that part of this, you know, you got to go back into the office and think of, okay, what jobs are next and how do I find the next jobs and so forth. So both examples here of thriving businesses that were very intentional and doing the work that maybe was not as fun and doing and getting the bids ready and so forth. So, and again, also requires investment. A lot of times we think about, you know, what tools and equipment and trucks and, you know, things that we're going to need for next year, right? And we don't think of that software program or the capability. Another option that some companies employ is bringing on a contractual estimator, a bidder to help you with certain projects and so forth. So again, hats off to both of you and thank you for sharing that. I want to move us on to the next question, which is, you know, we touched on the evolution of the bidding process earlier. As we continue to navigate the pandemic and the world we live in now, how has virtual communication been incorporated into the bidding process, if any? Do you foresee any long-term changes because of current circumstances?
I can start.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought cameras for everybody. I don't know about you, Ruben, but every computer has a camera because it was like, whoa, right off the bat. I will say, I just got into talking to my accountant about this. He said, you know, what happened during the pandemic, during this period, how did it affect you? Our construction side, our office staff, my construction admin person, my estimators, my construction manager, that side continued to come in every day, all day. You know, there was still jobs that we could bid. So that continued. Service side, because a lot of our customers were non-essential, you know, was what really slowed down. And some of the construction projects that were supposed to start didn't start. So yes, we definitely had a a slowdown in the second quarter of this past year. But everybody, that being said, getting the cameras for everyone, because what we did is, or what we saw and we're still seeing is every single pre-bid meeting is virtual. For the government, they have what's called a pre-bid meeting. I don't typically have that for non-federal work. The walkthroughs are physical, the site walkthroughs. The bid openings are virtual. Kind of neat because some of the people in our office that have never been to a bid opening, we can now see it, live on YouTube. It shows up on YouTube, and you can watch it. And then your post-bid meetings are virtual. And I was just thinking today about that. I thought, that saves on travel, and I just wonder will this industry keep it this way? I have no clue. I'm curious about it though.
Thoughts, Ruben?
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been thinking about that. Like Jodi said, a lot of the meetings now are just virtual, right? And it just saves cost, it saves time, it's just more efficient. I got to think that some of that is just going to stay, right? It's just going to stay. Like we do work with out-of-state general contractors quite often, especially when we get into the retail build outs, like at the malls or others, retail places. And it's just now, before it just used to be email or phone call, and now we can actually meet face to face, and so that's actually been better. We implemented technology. We invested into software called PlanGrid. I was actually at the start of last year, where it's basically web-based software where we can upload entire projects with, similar to like what we were talking about Builders Exchange, except these are private projects just for internal use. And we could upload drawings, all kinds of documents, safety manuals. We could, the guys, the foreman in the field can go in and mark up drawings as, like I'm sure the audience will know what I'm talking about when I say as-built drawings. So anytime you modify anything on the original drawings, you want to redline it and mark it, because you want to document those changes, and at the end of the project you turn that over and it's called as-built drawings. Well, like that allows you to do that on the go. So increase efficiency. Like we've invested in that because we had the need, right? But it also eliminates the requirement of meeting in person and exchanging or looking at drawings together, because now we can look at the drawing and I look at from here. And then, so it's just, yes, technology, we've had to kind of look for ways to make things work with technology, but I think those things are here to stay for the most part. We'll still need to go out and do site visits like Jodi mentioned and do walkthroughs, but I think technology will be implemented a lot more in our industry as we move forward.
Excellent. Thank you. So give us the top 3 tips. What are the best tips or practices you can share when doing a bid? Start with Jodi.
Yes, sir. Okay. Read the specs, and read the specs. And have a really big dartboard. Yeah, because I think you're still going to probably ask us about our misses, but really, staying organized, having a process. I mean, I look back at, oh my gosh, just how unorganized things in your computer, how much time, your time is valuable. And a lot of times you are the estimator, and then you're the project manager, and you're the going out to the site and maybe doing some of the work. So if you think about how much time it takes to look for things. So something as simple as, I'm assuming most people have computers, but we started implementing something, maybe a year and a half ago, of that all of our job folders, we're going to start a job, we're going to bid a job. The first thing we do is, after deciding that we're going to bid it, is we have a bid check form, checklist, and a lot of pertinent information is put on there. when it's due, when the RFIs are due, when is the walkthrough, time, dates, and all that. Who is it due to? Is it in person? Do we have to hand deliver it? Can it be electronically? So a lot of is it bonded? I mean, just what kind, and then we start to get into the nitty gritty of our world, our HVAC and, piping world. What kind of pipe are they calling for underground and for, storm or, storm piping and, just the nitty gritties of what we do. And then in the computer, we have a set of files, and it's the same thing every time. It's a system that every job is going to have. Number one is going to have the prints in it. Number two is going to have the specs. So anybody, the 8 of us in the office, can go right to that job folder, find what we need, because it's just like having a messy desk. My desk is messier than my, but looking for something can take so long. And even if you're a one person show, I mean that, like, oh, where did I put this? So, we've got a folder for our subcontractor quotes, our vendor quotes, any email communication, any RFIs that have come through, addendums, that kind of stuff it may sound, like, oh, that's not a big deal. It really is when you're, being organized that way. So, I would also say for a contractor, something that I never thought of doing, and a GC told me this one time. He said it was when we bought this new system, and I vetted it. I asked several people, even around the country, the system that we use. I said to them, do you like it? Yes, it was a good system. To bid with it for the first time, there was things we, messed up with the formulas and all that. But one of these GCs said, Jodi, go ahead and bid a job. Don't submit the bid. Have it, public opening. See where you came in. If you were to have submitted it, how are you coming in? Are you coming in there? And I thought, gosh, I wish somebody would have said that to me a long time ago. That would have probably, that's what an easy thing to do. Because a lot of times you submit the bid and you either look like an idiot at times because you're too low and you got to do something, or you're too high, or, I've got a lot of things that I would tell people. But short bid form, when we graduated from the notebook paper to, we created what we call a short bid form that we still use when it's a smaller project that's maybe, a couple hundred hours. Just formulas and things that come in there that you can, it'll show you all your costs and, okay, what are you going in at 10%? Because it can make a decision strategically. Gosh, are there 5 different bidders? Are there 10 different bidders? Do we want to go in at our normal rates? We'll bid it how we want to bid it, and then start shaving off some money, maybe if we see that it's one that we really want. I've got a lot of things I could say, but that's a few of them.
Ruben?
Yeah, Jodi, you said something that I was thinking, you got to practice.
Mm-hmm.
You got to practice. It takes time, so it's going to cost you time if nothing else. But maybe that's all it'll cost you, and not an arm and a pant leg. Ask questions. So I was going to say, start early in the process. Sometimes you have to, well, all the time, you have to dig into it. You have to find out, get into the spec book. It's not just going to the plan and taking off you really have to understand what the specs are, and make sure that you have the right materials and whatnot. And then you got to make sure that you start early enough in the process so that you write down all the questions that you have as you're looking through it, and then submit requests for information, when by the deadline, because most of the projects will have a deadline when you have to submit RFI by then, request for information in order for you to get answers on those questions. So make sure that that you ask a lot of questions. Practice if you don't have a lot of practice in bidding, and then just follow the project and see how you did compared to the winning bid. The problem is a lot of the private bids, they won't let you know where others came in. But like public bids, like schoolwork, they'll always publish, where bids came out. And so compare your bids against theirs, and then find out where you would have been. I'd just say, don't be intimidated. That was one of the main hurdles that I had when I first started is I started looking through thousands of pages in the spec book. And I just, man, that's too much. I can't, am I even good enough to do this? What if I, afraid of if I was going to lose, everything on it. Those are some of the internal barriers that sometimes we put ourselves up against. Investigate, study, practice, but then don't let yourself prohibit you from putting that bid in. You're just going to have to go out on a limb at some point and just do it. But specifically regarding the spec books, oftentimes they follow the same format. So you go and find your division. Every trade has their division within the spec book, and you look at, division one will have the general stuff that applies to everyone. And then you go find your own division, like I find mechanical. And then I usually, if the general contractor does their work up front and they're good, they're going to publish a scope of work for each trade. And then you go and you verify that you got everything that they want you to include on that scope of work. So it sounds very intimidating, but once you get the hang of it, it's really not that difficult. You get a flow, and you just, that's how you typically do it. And like I said, most of the time, they'll follow the same format on those spec books.
Excellent. Thank you, Ruben.
Let me piggyback real quick, Dante, on something he said that I forgot to mention in regards to organization. And when you said, Ruben, that, making sure you get the RFIs in on time, something that we started again this past year is I said, okay, we've got the bid time and we've got all these dates and all that in a spreadsheet and sometimes up on the wall. I think visual things are good. But we started using our Outlook calendar as soon as a job, comes across, okay, this is the date and time with reminders of when, the site walkthrough is, here's when the RFIs are due, here's when the bid is due. It really stinks when you've put in so much time and energy into a bid and you are a day off, I mean, oh my gosh, I thought this, and that's happened plenty of times, and I don't ever let anybody beat themselves up, because I did it today. I thought I missed this whole meeting I was supposed to be at, and I'm texting people and they're like, Jodi, it's tomorrow. I'm like, oh my gosh, so because I had my reminders reminding me today, well, for tomorrow. So that really started helping. It's, and we have shared calendars, so more than one person, even if you just have you and another guy, whatever, just having a shared calendar. It's really easy to do that with, Google or Microsoft. That was a big help for us.
Jodi and Ruben, it sounds to me like, the intentionality that has to happen is key, right? Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to not to know something, and keep moving forward, right? Tell us, and this is something you've already shared a little bit about, but tell us a little bit more of the fails or these things do not do, because this is absolutely unacceptable, or it's not gonna move you forward. If there's one or two or three things, what not to do in this whole bid process. And I'll let whoever wants to begin.
You want me to start, or you want to start, Ruben?
Go ahead, Jodi.
Okay. Well, early on with the city of Grand Rapids, probably 2006 or 7, we had bid a job that we had missed something. So it was only a $60,000 job, say, and what we missed was a big chunk. It was like a $15,000 of it. I mean, it was so big that if we would have just done it anyways and said, well, whatever, we'll take the job, we would have been, our profit and all that was not $15,000. So I just remember that happening for the first time. And in 20 years, that's only happened 3 times that we had to back out. But that first time, you have a bid bond and they can call your bond. They can say, well, this is what this is for. We're going to call the bond. And oh my gosh, I was just shaking in my shoes, just because if that happens, then your bonding company doesn't have faith in you. They can say, well, you're not bondable, you messed up. So very thankful that we got that stern warning. The guy wasn't super nice, but he let us off the hook. And I'm glad he wasn't, because it always lets me know, hey, this is a huge deal. We can never, if this happens, this is what can. I will say it's happened the other 2 times, was in this past year. So one of the times was, I shouldn't say the past year, the past 2 years. Another time was because with our new software system, with I talk about Excels and formulas, we didn't realize that one of the formulas that's supposed to carry to somewhere else. I could have had a high schooler come in and check all the cells and formulas and just something easy, and just a stupid miss. The most recent one is something that can happen, and it's and we've missed this before. We've gotten the projects, but we have to spend more, and it's not, again, with those spec book things. Some can be really easy. We subcontract controls, for instance. So the controls that control the HVAC units. A lot of times the GC or the architect engineer, will spec a certain, this is supposed to be train controls. And simply just a really easy mistake. Somebody missed that it said train controls. And sorry, it wasn't train. It was another brand on this one. And, but you had to carry that number in your price. So he completely missed it. We have our bids, our tabs, and we've got a subcontractor section. There clearly was controls. He put nothing in there for controls. So he had a second error, never read it, never had that, and on top of it, the company that sent the control pricing that we used, okay, well, at least then when somebody got the control number, they would have said, oh, there it is. It went to my other estimator who was sick that day, and nobody was checking his email. So right away, when something like that happens, I'm like, we had two human errors, and then the one that could have caught it. So you look at it and you say, okay, is there a problem with my people with this, or is there a problem with the system? So something that we implemented, there was a problem with the system, is now we have an email that all of our bids that people send bids to us goes to estimates at, our email, advmecref.com, instead of Todd at adv, Jodi, Bill. I'm like, what an easy fix. How dumb are we? We've done that with our accounts payable and all that. No more going to one guy who might be sick that day and somebody forgot to check his email. So something that simple. Here we are, a 20-year-old company, and I'm just figuring that out. And so that's where you can't feel stupid. You can't, let your pride, oh gosh, we have no business. We're not, at the top of our game. And then any other things that it's like, Ruben, that we've gotten jobs that we've lost, money on are, you've got your blueprints, and those are very important to read. You've got your spec book, and that I call that boilerplate. A lot of times we've gotten a spec book from a very big, well-known contractor around here, and it was for a job right downtown Grand Rapids, and you look through it, and it was referencing some other job in Kentwood. Well, they'll just use the same spec book, and a lot of times, and there'll be things that don't even apply. So if you see something that's, wait a second, this is not making sense to the blueprint, that's where you put in an RFI and you say something isn't, because what I've heard is, the blueprints will trump the spec book. So if there's something that's there, because the blueprints are very, architect engineers put them out, they're specific to a project. So if they are really, something is, and you don't want to just say, oh, it trumps it, so I let it go. Do an RFI if you can, but you've got to get into the nitty gritty. We had 3 people miss that we had to supply valves. It was not on the blueprints, but it was buried in the specs, and we had to eat that. We're eating a $4,000 thing right now. So as long as you're, again, still a business, growing, doing well, you can't say, oh, screw it, we shouldn't do this anymore. It's going to happen. You just hope that you don't mess up so bad that because one big bad job can take a company down. It really can. So you're definitely, I say, oh, I'm not that big of a risk taker. No, being in business doing this is, yeah, I guess I am.
Somebody the other day Somebody the other day in the trade said, talked about the conversation of going to the casino and stuff. And they said, no, I do all my gambling at work.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
Ruben, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, if I say, I'm gonna say two things. I'll start by saying, do not overcommit, right? Don't force it. Like it's, especially for, and I can relate to this, being a smaller contractor growing up and, try extra hard to develop these relationships, right? And you finally are throwing a bone, right? Somebody finally says, all right, hey, can you bid this for me? And I need it by such date. And you jump all over it. But at the same time, you got two or three contractors, and it happens when everybody gets busy, then you got low hanging fruit, contractors get turned down by subs. And so they look elsewhere and they find you and they come to you. And so you also have to say, you have to know how much is enough, right? If you overcommit because you're so crazy about developing these relationships and because you don't want to say no to somebody, then you're setting yourself up potentially for failure because you're gonna forget something. You're gonna miss stuff, over to what Jodi was saying. Look, it's happened to me a lot of times, and probably will continue to happen at some point. Hopefully, we can contain it, but so don't overcommit. Like, know what you can and cannot do, right? Go after jobs that are within your wheelhouse, that you're good at, and that you're going to have the necessary time to bid. And this is a problem for contractors that are still out there doing the job, running on the pickup truck, and then run back in and try to come in at 5 p.m. to do a bid that's due at 9 a.m. the next morning. That is tough. So don't overcommit, I would say, and do not. This kind of sounds redundant, but do not track the job. So once you get a job, track it. Don't just go on automatic. Know if you're hitting or missing. Track your job hours, track your materials against the job. Measure, measure, because you're not going to know if you made a mistake or not. Not all the mistakes are obvious.
Mhm.
You have to know if you hit your target or not. And if you hit it, then you're bidding the right way. If you didn't, then you got to know you got to adjust. But that's how you learn, is by tracking, the results after you bid it. Because even after you bid it, I used to, and still sometimes, depending on the size of the job, but I used to, as soon as I got a call after I put in a bid, then I got a call and say, hey, I got questions for you, or can you come in for a post-bid interview? That was when the nerves started really, going through the roof. I was like, oh, what'd I forget? Automatically, I went to that. How did I screw this one up? And you're thinking, I was low for a reason. I must have forgot something. But that went away a little bit as I learned to track, right? And now that you have a system and you're tracking, and for the most part, you're hitting your targets, then you're doing a good job, and that's where you got to be, right? But until you do that, you don't know if you're being successful or not. Even if you're getting the jobs, you may be getting the job at a loss all the time.
Thank you, Ruben. That's great. One of the questions from our audience is referencing a program called Toll Gates, which is it's a program for process bidding and monitoring the project execution. And their question is, how many phases are your projects typically that you have to monitor? So you get like what Ruben, you said, you get the award. What is, how many phases do you monitor?
So Oliverio, I think this one came from Oliverio. I'm not sure if I quite understand the question, Oliverio, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So the different stages in the project, as obviously the first stage is the bidding and everything that the bidding entails. And then once you get a project, you go and you do a post-bid interview. And that's where they qualify the bids, and they make sure that you didn't forget anything and that your number's good. And then after that, once you get a contract, what I do is I shift from, because I remember it's all kind of done here with myself still. So once I get a project, I get a contract, then my estimator hat goes off a little bit, and my project manager hat comes on. So then what I do is I I grab the whole file in my computer and I put it, in this other folder where I know these are the ongoing projects that I have. And I try to organize it the best I can. I organize it by general contractor. And then I put a bunch of subfolders in there where I say, okay, these are my billing folder. This is my drawings and specs. This is all my vendors. This is all my submittals folder. So I basically try to organize it the best I can so that I have a smooth project. And at any time during the project, if I get ask a question, or if I need to refer back to something, it's easily accessible and I don't have to dig through thousands of files in my system. And so I organize, so that third step is organizing the project, internally. And then I make sure I do a very good job of passing the project on to whoever's going to do it in the field. So that make sure that my foreman in the field understands how I estimated the project. I figured this vendor and this vendor and this vendor for this or this or this. This is how many man hours I have on the job. This is where we're going to buy this from. And I also help a lot with the actual purchasing of the materials and equipment. And then it's a matter of tracking the job as it goes on. Like I was saying, pull, weekly reports of labor and materials. How much are you 50% done with the job, but are you 75% done with the man hours you bid it? You don't want to wait till the end of the project and find out you're missing it. You want to find out as early as possible in the game so that you can adjust if you're able to. So you track the job, and then at the end of the job, when you do a final, job report, I have implemented, this is as of a year ago, implemented job end meetings with the job foreman and to make sure, kind of just talk about the job and see how it went and what could have been done differently and whatnot. So kind of those are the stages, I guess, of a project for me.
Excellent. Wow. Thank you for walking us through. Jodi, is it similar on your end or?
Yeah. I too don't know what toll gate is. The software that we use is called QuoteSoft, and that's just the name of our, as far as the one that we chose out of the many that are out there. So nothing really to add. I think it's really good to, I guess, just like Ruben said, is when you get to the end of a project, knowing how you did on that. If you don't know, I've talked to a lot of small contractors and they don't keep timesheets, on themselves. Well, I'm a, sole proprietor and I take money out. How do you really know how many hours you had on that then? You're only fooling yourself, if you, I think I did it. Because then it helps you be a better bidder for next time. Okay, gosh, you're inevitably going to come across another project that's really similar to that one. And we're always, what was that project that we did? It was a few years back, and we all start looking to see, find that, because this is, we installed the backflow preventer down in Battle Creek at the VA, and now they want another one over across. We can go back and look at that. And that bid was super easy to get out because, we did well on it. It's the same thing. Yeah, sure, we can get it right out. And we look great because we turned that bid around super fast for them, So.
Or if you didn't do well on it, but now the reality of how many hours, you can correct it and make up on it, right? So.
Yeah, and if they say, well, wait a minute, you did it for this price the last time. Yeah, and we kind of invested in your project for you. So,
Yeah.
And I'll add that, project management tools they don't have to be super complicated, right? As you go on, we've added software to help here and there, but I used to do it. Jodi, on a yellow, sheet of paper. And look at Jodi. Jodi was doing that some years ago. She's, her company's is, I think, a very, important big company, and, they're doing great. And look so it's not rocket science all the time. I was going to just ask questions, because you don't have to always figure it out on your own. That's how I felt, early on. And man, how do I come up with a process to track the jobs and track the materials? And it can be done easily in spreadsheets. Just ask somebody that's maybe a bigger contractor that's in your same industry. I bet you they might be willing to share some of their spreadsheets or some of their systems in place. I'm willing to share it if it works for somebody. I know my systems aren't probably perfect, but hey, if it helps anybody, by all means, just reach out.
Me as well. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I want to acknowledge is that you guys wear many, many hats, and Jodi and Ruben, you wear them very well. But one hat that I want to make sure you recognize that you do wear is a community trustee and a community builder, a community leader, because taking the time off today to be in here with us and sharing your journey, your ups and downs, your wins, your losses. That's what a community and a community leader and a community trustee does for their community, specifically for the trade. So I want to thank both of you for taking the time to do this and invest in all of us. So much appreciation. I'd love for you to stick around for as we open it up the discussion to our other contractors and so forth. But I want to be clear that we value your participation and engagement. And I know sometimes when we talk about a journey, it opens up some wounds, and you're like, gosh, oh yeah, I remember that time. And it's not easy going back and much less sharing that, I lost 4,000 on this project or 10,000 on that one and so forth. But it does help us move our industry forward with our minority contractors. So thank you to both of you. We're going to open it up in a little bit for anyone else who wants to ask a question and partake in the discussion. But at this time, I do want to introduce Megan Steinway. While she's not new to the chamber, she is new in her role as the business services manager. And really what that means is that I work for her now. She will be owning the West Michigan Minority Contractor Programming. And I want to introduce you to her. And so Megan, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Dante. And I second everything you said. Ruben and Jodi, thank you so much for being here and being willing to be vulnerable with everyone who's attending today. That is so important and so valuable. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, speaking of valuable, we just want to make sure that our programming is valuable for our participants. So we do have some dates coming up that I would love to share with you. So 1 month from today, we will have Spectrum Health give a presentation about their bid process and how they've changed that this year. So look forward to that. Registration will be thrown in the chat, but please help us spread the word about this. And then we also will have an event in May as well, and we're hoping that that will be able to be in person. So fingers crossed. But again, all that information is on our website, and Jesse just threw that in the chat as well. And this year, we're also really excited to bring back our golf outing for West Michigan Minority Contractors. This will take place on June 7th. So we're really hoping for a sunny day. Hopefully, I'm not jinxing it by saying that, but we would love to have you attend as golfers and be available to help with any kind of volunteer needs. I am looking for people to join the golf committee. So if you're interested in that or know someone who might would be willing to volunteer, I would love to get in touch with them. But I know I'm excited to just have an opportunity to connect with the GCs and minority contractors and end users all together outside and enjoy that kind of camaraderie again. I know I miss it. So yeah, so that's kind of what's on our plate for West Michigan Minority Contractors this spring, but please give us your feedback if you have anything for us. We are always looking for opportunities to help you develop your business. So we are just excited to have you here, and thank you for staying on this Tuesday. So I will hand it over back to Dante for final remarks.
Thank you, Megan. We do have 5 or 10 minutes left that I'd like to open the floor to our members to provide company updates or share information about upcoming projects. You're welcome to share anything that you have going on or any new hires, anything that you would like to give an update on. So Megan, if you can help me as people raise their hands, and do we have anyone who would like to kick us off?
And you can just unmute yourself for this as well if you want to just go that way instead of throwing your information in the chat.
Well, Megan, what I'd like to do, if we don't have anything else, I know we are recording this session and it will be live on our YouTube channel very soon, probably yet this week. Jesse, do you see anyone on the on the chat for any questions or anything? Okay, it was a very thorough presentation. So again, I want to give another round of appreciation to our distinguished panelists and to Warner, Norquist, and Judd, our sponsor for this program. Much appreciation. I do want to let everyone know that you will be receiving a survey following today's event, asking you to rate your overall experience. 1 being the lowest possible score and 10 being the highest. Your feedback is very important to us as it allows us to enhance our programs from month to month and year over year. Please take a few moments to complete the survey. We very much appreciate it. If we don't have anyone else asking to speak or to share, I'd like to go ahead and conclude. Again, Jodi, Ruben, much appreciation. Thank you for your contributions here today. And to all of you, much appreciation as well for joining us. And I wish you a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dante. I will add one thing to United Freedom Painting, who's asking for our kind of project management sheets. I think both Jodi and I put our emails up there. Go ahead and shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to share some of those templates, some of the forms that I use. And if you need any explanation on that, let me know.
Gracias, Ruben. Thank you.
A ustedes.
Bueno, muy buenas tardes. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.